whether your marriage is struggling or thriving, knowing that like the work needs to be completed, I think takes the pressure off, because there's always, until the day we meet Jesus, this work will be like being worked out.
Well, hey, welcome back. This is episode number 10, first season. This is our last episode of our first season of Project 167, but I'm certain we will be back in the future. And I think we end this season with special guests. I love to make much of our guests. Brad, you are a podcast seasoned warrior,
2 times
veteran, 2 times on the
2 times.
podcast. You did great earlier. Two like we're filming on the same day, so it's kind of fun. And
it was a blast. You and Allison.
You did great. I was the co-host on that, and I was very much enjoying being a co-host. I got to just make jokes and chime in, and I was not responsible for direction or time or anything like that, so I can be a mess in that moment. But hey, if you're tuning in for the very first time, welcome. Project 167, this is a platform that's growing and being developed as we speak here at Northway, and the goal is to help resource our relationships, which is our marriages, our singleness at the same time, and anything in between there. It's supposed to resource our parenting as well, because I think a lot of times we parent our kids out of our experience, how we got parented or what we saw. But I think we need help. Parenting is hard. And then we try to speak into work as much as possible. But truth be told, we focus a lot of our time on, I'm making confession right now, aren't I, Amanda? I know what I'm doing right now. Most of our time is spent on marriage and parenting. It's a passion zone for me. So I'm excited to be here with you guys. You guys are awesome friends and folks to work with. I'll say this. I didn't know how awesome the staff team was when I moved here. Because you don't get that taste. When you're interviewing, you're looking at the red carpet in the sanctuary. Do you guys remember that? The carpet was red.
Unforgettable.
Wexford. Epic red. That was the deal way back when. Royal. It was like a royal sort of church thing.
A small church back home. Same thing.
Yeah, red. Carpet. Ours did too. Mine did too.
Steps the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're taking it all in the sights, but you don't really get to know the people. And I'm just I love working with you guys. You guys have hearts for Jesus. Like most times you go towards talent, and you guys are talented. I mean, gifted speakers, leaders, culture setters on our staff team. But your hearts for Jesus are, they're tremendous. And I get to hear and taste the gospel when I interact with you guys in a lot of different ways. And
awesome. But we feel that way about you too, Dave.
Well, thanks, Brad.
We told ourselves we would sign on for a bunch of years under your leadership. So we mean that.
That's nice.
It's a big deal.
Now it's recorded, so you have to.
Wow.
It's out there.
Right here.
And knowing Amanda, she's going to be like, Brad, you said that. I did not say that.
She's like, I didn't say that.
So as the final guests, I mean, so many different angles. You guys are parents. You guys are married. You also grew up in a lot of ways at Northway, not completely at Northway, but grew up in ministry here at Northway. And we have a ministry at Wexford. So if you're wondering, what's the context? Why are we chatting with these guys? Of course, there's a lot of those reasons why. But our faith and motherhood ministry, Christy Colangelo, powerhouse leader.
Yep.
She went to Riverside High School, which is where I went. So shout out to the Panthers.
Let's go.
Yeah, did you know
That's
that?
Huge.
Yeah.
Small town Pennsylvania.
I think her husband did
so
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, her husband's dad was my pediatrician as a kid.
Whoa.
Smallest of worlds, right?
That's cool. That's cool.
Anyways, I used to do highlight magazines in the waiting room there. Did you guys do highlights when you were kids?
Find the differences.
I was so mad if someone marked it all up in the searching thing.
Yeah, you couldn't find the sock in the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got one at your house?
Yes, it was in the mail.
Did they have a postal service in Sandy Lake?
I don't know. It was a small
My
one.
horse.
It was oh my gosh. That explains so much. Yes.
Once a week,
the horse came by. They just threw a big bundle onto
and the mayor of Sandy Lake
papyrus.
Unpackaged it and hand delivered everything.
My dad. That's right.
Your dad was the mayor. That's hilarious. But anyways, Faith and Motherhood, they have different speakers come in, and Brad and Amanda got to come in and speak, and I just heard rave reviews I always get good feedback from that. It's an amazing ministry for like younger moms with kids. It was the artist formerly known as Mops. But you guys spoke, and I think the big idea was like, you're supposed to speak about, typical marriage things, communication and partnership, but you guys took a gospel angle to that. So after such rave reviews, I thought, gosh, you got to be on the podcast. We got to hear a little bit of what you guys shared. So who wants to like dive their feet in? I'm talking a lot right now. Who wants to like take us there? Tell us a little bit about, Brad, why don't you start?
Yeah.
Take us a little bit to what you guys talked about and how you shared.
We talked about our marriage in the context of partnership in the gospel. And so what does it look like to be a team? Well, for one, I was the only guy in the room. So that was all of a sudden very
there was like a
intimidating.
3-month-old little boy.
There was a 3-month-old little boy, yeah. But it was like me and like my crew, but all
I've
ladies
been
in the
there.
room. Yeah, and I just thought like, you're my people, right? Okay, you're with me. It was good, right? But no, great group. But yeah, we just talked about that team mentality as a married couple in light of the gospel and our partnership from that place. And so, we have a unique story in that Amanda and I met at Northway in 2007, and we were a part of the same team there, our Family Matters team. Such a blast. Shout out Darren Bowers, that team, right? Just so good early on.
Yeah.
And so
still a big influence in your lives, right?
Huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
Darren
Most of the people on that team still are in our lives.
Jen, Karen, all those guys.
Yeah.
Just
Jen and Karen,
amazing.
powerhouse leaders.
Just,
Love
we
the
really
Lord.
grew under their leadership.
Yeah.
As leaders, but also, husbands and wives in another season in front of us that we just got to glean from their experience.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was amazing.
Okay.
Darren and Lori, like, oh my goodness. I just don't know. If we didn't have them. Amazing.
Altoona Proud. Are they from Altoona? Is that where it is?
Johnstown.
Johnstown Pride.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah. And so, we just our relationship started on a team as a team. And that's been special because we have grown in that. So throughout our engagement and early on in our marriage, we worked there for...
So you guys are dating, but working peers.
Yes.
What a dream.
What a dream. I know it. There it is.
You smiled. She winced.
We shared like this tiny little office.
And Amanda's like, let's just keep this cool. And I'm like, no, this is so good.
This could be like a beautiful Oprah podcast
Yes,
or a Jerry Falwell. Not a Jerry Falwell,
man.
Jerry Springer.
Springer.
Jerry Falwell.
That's another podcast.
Different name.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and so as we, grew in our relationship and as kids came and the campuses and different things like that, this idea of partnering from the gospel has been huge in our lives individually, but collectively as a couple. And so there's kind of a passage that like drives us in this way.
So before you read that, gospel partnership. No, I don't think anyone uses that phrase. So you guys may want to hold on to that and write a book. I do think that's a unique, because most people are like, no, the gospel shapes my faith, or the gospel calls me to forgive. But like even your marriage and the way you approach it is driven by the gospel. Yeah, I think there's a book in there. So
that'd be fun. There we go.
Well, you're an incredible writer.
So
there you go.
Here we go.
I'm a great illustrator. I can draw some amazing pictures.
you're a great team.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to point that out. I'm guessing most people are like, what on earth is that?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
And I think for us, team and partnership, like we believe that God brought us together like for a purpose, on purpose, and that our partnership, we want to do a lot of things. We want to disciple our kids well. We want to lead and help people
grow in
know,
their
experience,
faith
and
in
follow Jesus, and all those things. But if we were to think about what defined, like what is the purpose of us like being on mission together, and that really is this idea of like gospel partnership. And Paul in Philippians, he's obviously not writing about marriage, he's writing to a church, but this verse spoke so much to us about what we wanted our marriage to look like and to represent. And I brought it. It's familiar if you're familiar with scripture, but Paul writes kind of the opening of his letter, I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, making my prayer with joy because of your partnership in the gospel. So there's the phrase gospel partnership from the first day until now. And I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Christ Jesus. It is right for me to feel this way about you all because I hold you in my heart, for you are all partakers with me of grace, both in my imprisonment and in the defense and confirmation of the gospel. And so this verse in so many ways is what we aim toward, what we pray toward, and we would hope that these things could characterize our marriage. And just even in this verse, you see the fruit of gospel partnership. There's gratitude. He says, I thank my God when I remember you. And so that even,
joy.
Yes, like when we think of our lives together and what God has done in and through us together in our marriage.
There's
like
unity.
I think, my God, the next thing, unity, that's the gospel partnership idea, that we are united, we are locked in together, that there is sanctification, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion.
Marriage is a part of that.
Yes, absolutely. And so that idea and trust, and that's, a promise as well, that God who began this good work, we've been married 16 years next month, and are so much farther. That work has been completed so much more over those 16 years than it has today. The idea of intimacy, that I have you in my heart, that there would just be this mutual trust and honesty and transparency with us together. And then just this grace, that we are both partakers in the gospel of grace. And Paul even mentions his imprisonment. And I think some of the biggest ways we've partaken in the grace of the gospel together is through the trials that we've been through and the way that God has shaped us. But
most people probably think that you don't have trials, that life has been perfect because you're in ministry and you guys are upfront, outstanding people, and you guys smile a lot, and your kids are awesome. And
we do smile a lot. Yeah, but
That's okay.
That is true.
We do smile a lot. Carlo, there's our intro. We smile a lot.
You want to have a happy marriage, smile a lot. Yeah. But you're right. It is, but that's where God's grace is discovered all the more. And even in our growing together and learning to be one and deep in our marriage, that's where you partake in that grace. So that idea of gospel partnership really to us is like a true north of, are we living like God wants us to live? Are we doing what he's called us to do? And then so in this talk we gave at FAM, it was just then built off of that idea. How do you begin to grow in gospel partnership? If that's the fruit that you want, if you want unity and sanctification and intimacy, what does that look like? Just with like really practical handles. These are moms with young kids that we're speaking to in that context. So you have
They're overwhelmed in that moment. Exactly. They're just like, I hope I can sleep tonight.
Yes. Yeah. And we've, been there, are still there in some ways, but so that's what we began to do.
So gospel partnership, clearly I need to read my Bible more or not skip Paul's intros when I do read
They're the best part. Those are my favorite.
Because he cares about what he's doing.
It is.
There's genuine
it's
relationship.
Like you get to know Paul in those moments.
Yeah.
I don't think I skip them. I may 2x them.
You might not see
read through them fast.
His heart for the people of the church also include husbands and wives.
Yes. Yeah.
And that partnership is for them.
Yeah. So gospel partnership is a biblical phrase. When did you guys bump into this verse?
I mean, this is always, I think for me, my whole life, that idea of God beginning a good work and bringing it to completion is such a powerful truth
to hold on to. You remember when that like got illuminated for you?
High school.
And then we talked about it early on in our engagement. Yeah, when we talked about what we wanted for our
Do you guys have family meetings like Doug Smith shared about?
I have
those budget meetings.
Plenty of meetings in my life, and
we have touch
points. We call them touch points. It's a softer.
Call them touch points. Do you schedule them?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
but they need to happen before the week begins.
We're more of rhythm people than schedule people.
Okay.
So it's a rhythm in our lives,
and rhythm is like seasonal.
Yeah, and it might happen the same day. It might not. It might be on the fly.
I've been attempting to drive this more recently.
You are? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because not together, but like so we have 4 kids and we want them to be a part of things, but not everything. But if one kid has one thing, that's 4 things, along with both of us working here full time. So we have to plan.
So if is Judah playing baseball? Was that Seth is playing baseball. Yeah. Okay. Does everybody go to his game?
Not always.
Okay.
It depends.
That's good.
Sometimes.
Yeah, we've navigated that.
Yeah.
Mila had a play, and Gino had a track meet recently, and it was like, do I have to go? Can I stay home? Can I go to so and so's house? Yep. Yeah. Those are challenging.
And
moments.
so that I think is a great segue into when we think about this idea of partnership, and even like communicating and touching base. It's all under this idea of a shared vision. And so that is seasonal for us. Like what shared vision is God giving us? That's something we have to pursue and pray toward, and how we say our yeses and nos, and
from finances to where our kids go to school, with managing screen time at home, like it all falls in this pursuit of a shared vision.
Because you don't want to have screenagers.
Right. Exactly.
That's a good term.
It's a phrase.
I like that.
That's it, man.
That's good.
So, Amanda, you said high school. This got illuminated to you. Is there a backstory? Is there any reason why? I'm just curious, like, when does the scripture shine to somebody or shimmer? Was it to you, or was it was more Amanda? This was like her.
I think it was Amanda.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then through moments early on, it became clear, like, oh, this is actually
what we want.
Oh,
what
yeah.
we want to stand on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oneness in marriage,
Yes.
like what is deeply valuable to Brooke, somehow it becomes deeply valuable to me.
Yep.
Like, right? That's a oneness piece. Yeah.
And I think back when it first shimmered, but then even when it stood out more in the context of marriage, it is the promise. Like, a good work was started on May 30th when we got married. Like, God was starting a unique good work in and through us. And that promise of completion of that, like, I think pictures even of what that would look like, and maybe it's not the final completion, but like, we're at our kids' weddings and all of these people who have been with us for all these years and their friends, and that they would know and love Jesus. Like, just seeing evidence of God's completed work, or hard things that we've pushed through, or that we've, stayed even here at Northway when we wanted to go, or like, just like seeing.
I never wanted to go. It was always her.
I'm really glad you guys are here.
Just teasing.
But that's part of God's, he had to build that in
For
us.
sure.
But it is a together. Everything we do is together. Like, not physically together, but we are shared in it for one another.
Yeah, you guys
together.
are partners at another level. Like, it's almost like business owners, like a husband and wife. We have friends who do that.
Yeah.
And it's a unique, Brooke and I we are partners in our home, but she's not working at Northway. Right. So there's a little bit of.
It is like a unique.
A little bit of space there.
And that team mentality that was grown from the very beginning before we were dating, it plays out even now. And it's beautiful, but we also have to protect it, right? Because sometimes everything can become everything unless we're.
What does that mean? Everything can become everything.
So like, work and life can just kind of look the same sometimes if we let it.
And you don't want your kids growing up hating the church.
No.
Not at all.
Like, that's a fear.
And that's
Yes.
mine. That's a massive.
Yeah.
And that's even the shared vision. This is such a dumb example, but a real time one of, there's a kids choir here on Sunday, and do we encourage some of our kids to participate? Do we not? Do we force it? But that.
So what did you guys
tension-
decide?
We let Mila
Inquiring
decide, and she was going to say no, and then a friend said yes, and so
She's in.
So
She'll be
she-
singing.
peer pressure
So
said
the
yes.
friends,
Yes.
that dial is turning up right now.
And I think we're still
We're watching
TBD on
that.
the boys
Yeah.
because they would never
Well,
self-select.
they're also
but
in choir.
they
at
might need to
school,
self-select.
So
So
they're like, Dad, we're already in a choir. We don't need to do another choir.
their favorite thing is,
Sounds
why do
like
you
they're
just
saying
sign
no.
us up for things? Yes.
gotta
So
To their worship leader, Dad,
Yeah.
who leads the choir at the school.
Former. I don't have to own that.
You're always a worship leader.
well, in our last choir performance, Judah, he had a shirt underneath, but he took off his button down in the middle of the choir
It was
thing.
getting wild up there.
And Brad was hosting, and he said, "Here, Dad, here's my shirt."
Oh,
So
you're kidding me.
was
That's
like-
awesome.
And I was like, that one's my son.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
moments like that.
So yes,
Yeah.
we
We
wanted to
don't want
protect them, but that is,
Yeah.
I think, a shared vision for what our family looks like. But there is a richness to their lives because of the church too, and that idea of everything being everything. We've often described it like many people's lives feel like they are on a 3 or 4-legged stool, if there is such a thing as a 4-legged stool.
I use one to preach every weekend. There's 4 legs
One
on
less
it.
You're right,
than
it
you
does.
need.
That's
One
true.
less than you
You
need.
only need 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, you would have your work leg and your friends and your family, and like, so all of these, your church. So if those were like the kind of 4 big spheres of your life, our friends, many of them are rooted at church. Our work is church. Our church
So
is
everything
church.
is everything.
Everything is everything. And so that there is such richness and such complication
beautiful
as a result
in
of
that
that.
way. You do have to protect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make sure it's healthy and it doesn't become everything in your life for wrong reasons
Right.
or out of wrong heart motives.
Yes.
Right. Well, you
Yeah.
have to be in the choir because Daddy's the campus pastor.
Right.
And what will people say if you're not?
Right. And we never want, that will kill their faith. Like in their love of church, like we want them to,
That would break my heart
Yes.
if you guys felt pressure.
yes. And
To
and
do
we
that.
don't.
Yeah,
And so, but I think that the truth is like our situation is unique, but every marriage has unique elements to their situation, whether it's, things your kids are going through or just where you work or if you travel or if you, how you divide even what happens in your home. And so that idea of a shared vision, like your partnership is different than our partnership is different than the next person's partnership. And so that's why like our shared vision has to be unique for the gospel partnership that God's created for us. Like we can't tell someone else like this is what that partnership needs to look like for you. And even from every season, like we do, is this where we both are in a small group or not? Is this just like time is a big thing and how we allocate our time. And so praying through a shared vision together for each season, and we hold each other. Like sometimes I'll be gung ho and let's sign up for it all. Like in January when we're bored to death.
Sounds great. It's cold out. We need to have stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Brad's always that voice of reason of like, no, we're not going to be going in 1,000 directions in April. You're going to hate yourself. So it's sharing that. Yeah.
Saying no to good things so you can say yes to the best things.
Right.
Like that's
yeses and nos
and
matter.
I'm bad at that. Brad is good at that. So.
Yeah, and so like in this pursued shared vision, some of the things that help it, that we talked about at Faith and Motherhood was playing to each other's strengths.
Okay.
That was a big deal.
Is this general? Do you feel like these things you're about to share, are these general, all marriages can?
Yes, if you want to formulate 100%. A gospel partnership, that shared vision is the anchor. And then these are things just like easy handles, I think, to grab onto.
Could you start doing these and then see the gospel partnership and shared vision emerge? Do you have to have the shared vision first? I'm helping you guys write your book.
That's great.
I actually, yeah.
How would you answer that?
I would answer it like this. And these are some of the disclaimers we gave at Faith and Motherhood. One was you might be in the room and you're the spiritual leader in your family. Like you're the one that carries the mantle. A gospel partnership is still possible through your leadership.
Mm-hmm. So you spoke hope.
Yes.
In that situation. Because it's a lonely, hard situation.
It's a hard place. And I know that there are moms in the room that they're in that spot. They want more for their family when it comes
and just honest, they're praying for their husbands.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And then the second disclaimer was we certainly don't have this all figured out. Like you kind of said earlier, like sometimes like we call it the hot mess express for a reason. Like it is just sloppy sometimes. Like what are we doing?
Circus. We run a circus.
It is a circus. Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you, people don't believe that.
Well,
but I think it's the truth.
Which camera's on? It's true. It's true, right? Like it really, really is. But part of answering that question is if one person is willing and committed and prayerful, I do believe the Lord will begin that work so that they can see it in their marriage. Yeah. And so
these handles are for even if you're doing it alone. Obviously, there's like true partnership when both people are aligned spiritually. But when that's not the case, you can begin to implement these things. And even if it's not a shared Christ-centered vision, if you're praying through it, but at least you're shared, like, we don't want to be a slave to youth sports. And so we're saying no to every cup team that is offered to us. That's a shared vision, whether it comes from the Lord or just you and your spouse having a shared vision.
So I want to go back to something real quick before you get to these sort of steps. Or I'm going to forget it. So I'm going to look in the camera here. I think that word that came from Paul's writing, referring to God who began a good work, will see it through to completion. That's a word I think husbands and wives need to latch onto together if at all possible. Like to really view what started on that day in that covenant before God as blessed. That it's a good work and God wants to see it through to completion. Most people on that day, they're not viewing it. They're worried about the decorations and who didn't RSVP and is the food going to be good and what about our honeymoon? But there's this beautiful, God is beginning something and he's going to see it through.
Yes.
I think that's a lost vision for marriage that needs to get recuperated. And we've sometimes like a prenup. We've got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It's like we're not basing it all on God's going to complete this. So I don't need that.
Yes. And that's why even whether your marriage is struggling or thriving, knowing that like the work needs to be completed, I think takes the pressure off because there's always, until the day we meet Jesus, this work will be like being worked out.
Yeah.
And so that's
really good.
it's not, even if you feel stuck today, that's just another step in the good work that God is doing. And we had a line actually in our vows on our wedding day that said, today is not a declaration of present love, but a promise of future love. And so that idea of like, this is the promise of future love is the good work. Like that's always, every day, that's what we're saying yes to, like a future love that is better and better and better and being worked out and worked out and worked out. So yeah.
And we read those every year on our anniversary to remind us of that truth.
Wow.
Because you don't necessarily see it in the moment.
Yeah. So what if someone, what would you say to a couple who didn't write their vows?
Too late. No, I'm kidding. That's not what I would say.
Here's the difference.
There are responses have consequences. That's a consequence.
I think you could always rewrite them.
Why not do it now?
Yeah.
I think even if you knew you had limited, you could still rewrite them.
Because sometimes if I'm watching what feels like a storybook moment, I'm like, good for you. But what about me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have that. Or Brooke and I are 23 years in this June. I'm like, after 20, I get a little fuzzy. But we haven't done that for 22 years. But like, we could start now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And to like sit
That's a
there
great idea.
and look each other in the eye and say like I'm still making a promise of future love today.
I'm still
like
choosing this.
I'm still choosing this. And it is a powerful practice.
Tell us the line again.
Today is not a declaration of present
You guys should
love,
have this
but
memorized.
a promise
You're 16
of future
years
love.
in.
I know. I could actually keep going.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you guys write?
Today
You guys wrote
I make
your
a
vows.
covenant with God at the same time as I make a covenant with you.
Wow.
And then there's more. But yeah. And they weren't like, we didn't write them like, they were kind of based on things that God spoke to us.
A chapter in your book could be how much your vows matter.
Yeah, they do. That's good. Thank you.
I keep saying this.
You can be our editor.
Confirmation.
It's like ChatGPT right now.
It's good.
But better.
It's good.
I'm outlining your book for you. Okay, Brad, take us through the things because I wanted to get to these.
We'll go quick. We'll go quick here. You
don't have to go quick. Like
play
people
to
choose to listen or not listen.
That's
They're
true.
going to tune out or tune in. I'm interested.
That's good.
So
we'll just talk.
we want to play to each other's strengths. So if in faith and motherhood, if you're sitting here and you're the spiritual leader, I know that Amanda, and many of you know Amanda through teaching, and probably if you know her in general, like a very strong individual, and you are, and it's amazing. I have learned this throughout our marriage. I want her to be a strong spiritual leader in our family. I don't want to be like, no, I'm the husband, and so like I'm going to like force this and fake this. I want to champion that and encourage that.
doesn't mean you're not strong.
No, and it also doesn't mean I can't stand idly by. And so as dads, like, we have to get in the game. You want to be a teammate and have this gospel partnership, like that team first mentality takes two people. And so for me, like I want to champion it, and I also want to stay in the game and champion each other's strengths and put them on display for our kids to see.
So you can't let her strength as a leader make you feel insecure or wash out the fact that you're a leader too.
Yep. 100%.
And letting that be expressed the way that God designed each of us. And so I think back even early into our marriage, and where I see even with people like younger that we mentor or whatever, is just like I have a construct in my mind of what a leader should look like. And so let's take something really simple, like a rhythm in our family, like Advent, that we're going to have a plan and do something specific with our kids every Advent to create that rhythm in their lives. I could, if I had like the leader construct, expect Brad to like lead that by coming up with what we do, by making sure everybody sits down. But Brad taking charge. He doesn't operate like I don't expect him to do that.
And early on, we struggle with that.
Yeah, but I don't expect you to do that in anything else. So why all of a sudden, when like that's not his gifting, it's my gifting. And so I think now what partnership looks like in playing to each other's strengths is I come up with a plan, but Brad's really great at executing a plan. And he keeps us like, if we're saying we're going to do this, we're going to do it. And we're going to commit to it.
He makes the plan really fun.
Yes, really fun. And that's like his strength. And
it's a strength.
Well, and Amanda's, so this is always funny in our marriage. She's the great starter of any project. Like I'll come home and it's just chaos. I'm like, why would you start? But I know that I wouldn't on my own start that. And so she also knows once the
Are we talking painting the living room?
no, we're
project?
talking like we have a hillside in front of our house, and I came home and
This
she
was
was
a long
like
time ago,
6 shovel loads in of just digging it out because she thought that I could just build a retaining wall. What? And I was like, what are you doing? And then
But then I have mid-project regret syndrome, and I'm like,
Yes.
what in the heck was I
then
doing?
Project regret
It is for me.
syndrome.
It's like emptying your
shovel loads
closet.
in,
It's
8 shovel loads in. She's like,
cleaning the
yeah, this was a
basement.
bad idea. And I'm like, no, we're finishing. Let's go.
Oh,
And so
wow.
then we just,
Okay.
we build a retaining wall.
Yeah.
It happens. But that's like,
well, you
like-
didn't build it still, but
yeah,
yes.
well, we got somebody to
I
do
know
it
we did. I'm
because-
kidding.
Well,
It's a big
it's okay.
hole.
Yeah.
She
Hey, you did
started
it right.
Yeah.
But it's playing to those strengths and knowing them.
And there's little things too. Like our kids at night, like they don't want dad to read them a book. They want mom to read them a book because mom is very expressive and joy-filled and animated. But at the same time, like they don't want mom to help them make their Valentine's Day boxes because dad is a way better crafter. Like I'm just a better crafter,
Dad is a
right?
sneaky crafter.
A sneaky crafter, yeah. And so
Do you have a cricket?
I don't.
He doesn't need
but I
one.
like
He can
it.
freehand. You should have seen the Harry Potter Valentine's Day box
I
that
did
he
art
made.
in high school
It was
and thought
impressive.
about going to Edinburgh University on an art scholarship before Geneva. Nobody really knows.
Really?
That. Yes, love art so
I
much.
love this podcast.
It's so good.
it's-
You learn so much.
I learned how fast you run a mile in
Yeah,
the
there it
previous
is.
podcast, and now you are
An
an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's connected.
Sure.
Yeah.
You were in a band.
There it is.
Yeah. Wow.
But like,
But
I
if
didn't
we-
take art in high school.
I'm terrible. I can't even cut in a straight line, like on a piece of paper.
I-
you're decent.
I'm terrible.
You're- okay.
Yeah. Art was an opportunity to get a B. So there was no way I
Yes.
was taking art.
Or
It
something.
wasn't
You
like,
weren't
hey, have
lettering in
fun.
art.
Here's no, there's no like, I wasn't putting art on a Letterman's
No
jacket.
pottery, nothing.
No.
But
like
it's easy.
Amanda-
But that's like there's strengths.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and it's letting those be expressed with our kids, with how God made us, instead of having some idea of what our strengths should be or what a partnership should look like in terms of like gender roles. Like, yes, God blesses that, and then men and women bring unique things to the table, but also in how He created us. He gave us both gifts. And so how do I help Brad, whether it's in parenting or in ministry or just in neighboring, whatever it is, leverage his gifts? And how does he
Do that same thing.
do that
for
same
you.
thing and that's been such a freeing, wonderful gift that we can give each other is I'm going to like support you 500% in who I believe that God created you to be.
So without the idea or paradigm of partnership, you will resent or grow insecure at the expression of each other's strengths.
yes. Or have
You know you need them.
unfair expectations that I'm going to put this, you should have this strength because this is,
Even if it's not your strength.
even if it's not whether
Got
I
it.
think a man should have, a dad should have,
Yeah.
you like,
Michael Hyatt is an author, like leadership,
Full focus
editor.
planner.
You like Michael Hyatt.
I got a
Brad
full
loves Michael
focus
Hyatt.
planner. It's
Okay, yeah.
amazing.
He once said a quote about marriage. You are married to someone different than you, so that whatever comes your way, God has equipped you to be able to respond to it.
yes.
So sometimes it's Amanda leading and being strong. Sometimes it's
Yep.
Brad's gifting and being strong, and it's it's the trust and control.
Yes.
right? Marriage
Yep.
matters.
Marriage
See what I
matters.
did
There's
there?
a plug.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Johnstown.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay, get us to the second one. I love that. I love play to your strengths. So here's a practical tip. Have a conversation with each other. What you think your strengths are and what you think each other's strengths are. What a beautiful date night conversation that could be. Number 2.
Yeah, and so whether you have 1 kid or 4 kids like us, or less or more, another thing that helps.
3
in this-
plus kids. Do you ever
Yeah,
notice when people say like there were 51 plus people at student ministries? Was it 52?
Upwards
I
of
know.
51.
Don't say
What
plus.
does that mean? Why
Don't
can't
say
you just say the
upwards of.
number?
You know what
It's the
that
same
means?
thing.
That means there's insecurity there.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just count.
We all know it was 52. Just
What's
say
the number?
52.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
sorry.
Can you count the dog?
The dog in the parking lot. Yeah. But another piece to this is paying attention to heartbeats.
Okay.
So here's what I mean by that. With each of our kids, we have different levels of compassion when it comes to parenting them.
In different seasons, too.
In
This-
different
yeah.
seasons.
So
yes.
so that was here's what I love. That was about the most honest parenting statement that I've heard
I said,
in like a
Hot
while.
Mess Express.
Well, but like it's true.
Yep.
We feel like we're supposed to always be 1000% compassionate. I just feel freedom right now. Just right
good,
now.
good. I hope that you're.
That
you're
was
free.
just I
Yes.
appreciate the honesty. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, because so like
told you I'm an
our
interrupter.
7-year-old Judah in this season, Amanda has way more compassion for Judah. Judah's a lot like me when I was little, and so we just do this.
Oh
And
gosh.
so you
Yeah.
know, my fuse with him, unfortunately, sometimes is really short, and I end up breaking his little spirit more times than not.
Uh-huh.
And then I just feel terrible. But for Amanda, she
and
just
your
has
spirit
come-
gets broken too.
Oh, I feel horrible.
Because you should be better than that.
Yes.
That's not a good dad. That's not a gospel partnership.
That's the
Boom.
enemy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in many ways that it is. However, I have an incredibly strong, compassionate wife who is compassionate for Judah and his heart and who God made him to be. And so she swoops in, and it's beautiful. But on the flip side, our 11-year-old Mila really grinds your gears sometimes. Like Amanda's fuse is super
The emotional roller coaster.
I'm like,
is
this
not
is my baby girl.
Yeah.
not my sweet spot.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, no. Like, I just have more compassion for her. And it goes, it's true for all of our kids, but I think it's
And
important.
does it change in like the seasons
Yes,
of
and
life?
as their
It
personalities
doesn't
change,
mean you're
like-
never close with Mila.
No.
forever.
And you're not close with Judah.
I love
Yeah,
my
and it's
man.
probably even more so in moments of struggle and how we parent through challenges and discipline. That's where the heartbeat piece,
But we
love hanging
need,
out.
in gospel partnership, we need what each other doesn't have in those seasons, in those moments.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that
And
a little
so
bit of
even-
sanctification as you were talking about earlier?
yes, yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
and recognizing, where our fuses.
So that's a big one. And then
Do you
and
guys
then-
this feels like a tag team wrestling. I grew up watching
Sometimes it
WWE.
is.
Do
I
you,
don't know
are
what
you
that
ever
is,
like
but sure.
wrestling is a sport, Amanda?
WWE, though, yeah.
Oh,
Hello,
WWF
Carl, there we
when I
go.
was growing
Okay.
up,
Yeah, I know.
right?
Brad can probably hang with
I
you.
went to
But it's-
WWF.
You know what I mean? Though it was a
Pittsburgh
two.
with my dad.
Yeah, I did too. It was a 2 versus 2, and when one was tired, as
Yes.
long as you tagged your teammate,
Yes.
they were in.
Yes.
Tap in.
Do you feel like that
We do that
happens
frequently.
with parenting?
Yes.
And is it okay to parents if they feel like I need to tag, and I need a break?
Yes, and that's why understanding that we're in this
People just need to hear
together,
that.
that's not
Yep.
his job or my job. Like, we're both parenting together, but how does that? And Brad, if I'm frustrated because there's big emotions and I just can't. Mila needs a parent to show up and to be in it with her and to have empathy and compassion and
Yeah, you don't want her thinking that she's broken.
exactly,
because
or
she's having
too emotional or
emotions.
too whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's best for them. When our partnership is healthy, that's the best thing we can give our kids. And so I think in these like tag team parenting moments,
If you want to use the wrestling term, too.
I'm not a big wrestling fan now.
But they say tap in so you don't tap out.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Look at
right?
you.
I got to
Wow.
tap in so we don't get pinned.
Who's the pithy one-liner
Put that in the
now?
book.
Brad, put it in the book. Tap in so you
little
don't tap
sidebar
out.
quote right
But
there.
It's true.
yes.
Tap in so you don't tap out.
That's
It's in gospel partnership,
That's it.
husbands and wives. Like,
We'll talk royalties for this book afterward. I just want a small cut.
you can cut.
but take your insecurities, put them aside,
Humble yourself.
humble yourself,
Yeah.
tap in so you don't tap out.
But the beautiful thing is it's not humble yourself because you're horrible. It's because God gave you a partner.
Yes.
It's okay and good to be humble.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Pastor Kent, right? Kent Chevalier.
PK.
PK, right? He always talks about the enemy of our souls. He uses that line. The enemy of our souls hates marriage. The devil hates marriage and will try everything in his power to make sure in our gospel partnership that we're collecting W's for ourselves and not collective W's, right? Collective wins.
W's is wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
L's
for-
and W's,
Yeah.
losses and wins. And so it leads to the next point. Don't keep score. You cannot keep score in gospel partnership.
What if you're competitive, asking for a friend?
Then
Well, we are both
make sure you know what's your
both
scoring
strength
on.
finder.
You can't
Both of us
keep
have a
score.
strength finder of competition. So
Really? Okay, so you're both
Dave.
competitive.
So competitive.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, so
Surprising as
competitive.
that may be to
Yep.
all
And
of you.
anything, physically active, I'm like, okay, I can jump in and do this. Anything, academically, I'm like, oh, shoot.
How do you
Card
not keep
games.
score in marriage?
Yeah, and so you think
Even
about
like
it.
I took the trash out, you
Yep.
didn't.
So, hey, I did laundry all day today, plus the dishes, plus sweeping the steps. And so when you get home, I'm done. All right. And tomorrow, that's you. And you just create this, like, I don't know what.
You went out
but
with your
it's-
friends 3
went out
nights
with
this
your
week.
friends, so I'm going golfing on
Saturday. I've earned it.
Yep.
Now it's my time.
And that's when that starts to build. When you know a surefire sign that you're keeping score is there is resentment because I feel like I have given these things for you, but really it's because I want something in return. And it's like I do this for you. You do, and yes, there is
You have to stay
mutuality.
healthy.
There's
It's constant
It
deal
takes
making.
time.
yes, but
Like
it's
trading.
constant.
Yep.
And
It's
we
like
had
tariffs in your marriage.
yes, exactly. And look what that's doing. So
Amazing.
It's challenging,
it
right?
is. Oh no, and we had
Well, it creates a gap in relationship.
Yes.
And even if
That's
you
what
don't
it's doing
say it,
right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
in a lot
your
of ways.
heart,
Yeah,
and
sure.
it will be communicated.
Sure.
It will come out
Yeah.
in very negative, unhealthy ways.
And we have people who are like a season ahead of us that we love, and they use this phrase and just will even say like, "Oh, I'm keeping score. You're keeping like we need to eliminate that. That's such an unhealthy because those things take take root then. And then in 3 months from now, it's like, oh yeah, well you did that in March and you did that in April. And then it just,
just because we see that in the economy, like, and I get what's going on.
Yes.
Like broader scale.
Yes.
Our marriage is, again, it's a gospel partnership. It's not an economic relationship with other countries.
Right.
You're not worried about the
This
GDP.
isn't a business partnership.
It's not a business partnership.
It's a gospel partnership. Yeah.
Another chapter.
Yes. There we, but this will kill your marriage. And I think particularly.
It absolutely crushes marriages.
Yes. And when you have little kids, or when there's a parent who primarily works out of the home, like is a stay-at-home parent, I think it just feels like I'm carrying all of this. And now, like, why aren't you doing any of this? We joke. I took a couple trips in March.
We just lived this.
I never take trips, but I took a lot all at once.
March.
March, I was basically gone for everything.
I was like,
everything.
Lord, here we go. Gospel partnership. Let's keep it real.
But Brad was so
March.
gracious because it wasn't, well, and now, like.
Well, tell them where you went, what you did.
Well, I don't, okay. This is what happens. Tell all in our partnership and private person in our partnership.
Amanda's playing poker always. Her cards are like right here.
And Brad's like, let me tell the world every day.
She's ready to say Uno, and you don't know she has one card left.
Exactly.
Like she's like that one.
Really well, yeah, I had a weekend with really dear college friends that we hadn't been together in a while, and then went to Disney World with Shiloh a couple days later. But just.
This was a lot of days in a row. Just me.
It was a lot of days in a row.
You had all the kids or 3 of the kids.
Yes.
And the dog. Yeah,
and the dog and life. And
Dante.
So do you have like, is there payback coming? Do you get?
Not that we have.
No, and I was feeling
good answer, because I was setting you up for that. Not if you're not keeping score, right?
No.
Yeah.
But I was feeling guilty, and Brad kept saying like, I want this for you, like this. We chose this together, and it was.
Did that free you up?
Yes, and it's so. But I think the idea of partnership, like an anchor of gospel partnership, is humility and like sacrificial, servant-minded, serving one another in marriage. And that's, to me, that's like such an expression of love. Like God does not keep score with us. And so when you think of that love, it's like, no, true love is not keeping score and saying, here's more and more and more. And
there is such profound freedom when we understand the gospel more and more and more. Because if Jesus was keeping score, no way does he go to the cross.
Right.
Right? Because we were already down.
Yep. Yes.
Our sin debt was already immense.
Yes.
But what he wanted was, it was that line, I want this for you. It was for the joy set before him.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying, if you ever hear at Northway or anywhere, like understanding the gospel, it frees you and it empowers you. And so even understanding that more and more in your heart, my gut says that postured you to be able to respond to her, I want this for you. Brooke loves that I'm golfing now. I'm like, hey, I checked in the other day. I was like, is it okay? Darren and I, we're going to be out golfing. She goes, I love that you have this. You need this.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I needed to hear that.
That's awesome.
Because I didn't want it to be like, I'm getting my time out.
Now I'm going to have to owe you, and it's going to be this.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Yeah. Okay. 100%. Keeping score. What else do we got?
Yeah, and so there's a last one, and it's cultivating.
This is 4 or 5?
This is 5.
Okay.
5 with the shared vision being number 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cultivate communication. And this, when we did Speak to Faith and Motherhood, part of also what they had asked for was just how can we get better in communication? And even in the ones we just talked about, it's clear that communication is like key in all of this. But what kind of communication are we cultivating? And of course, like there's tons of logistical communication in our marriage, and there's all kinds of tips out there of how to communicate better and how to ask good questions and how to figure out what their needs are and like all of that stuff. And we have always a work in progress on our communication, but this idea of like, what is a deeper level of communication that we need to be cultivating? Like, how does that bolster our partnership? That's what this is. And so we've developed like this matrix that has helped us think through this of on the vertical axes is trust and on the horizontal axes is honesty. And so those things sound similar, but they're not. And when you look at the different quadrants, you can begin to see yourself in them. And I would say we've been in maybe most of these quadrants throughout our marriage. So at different times, you're in different places as these things ebb and flow. And so this idea of trust being that I have like a firm belief and reliability and like sense of safety with you. This is like where we connect and where there's chemistry and we have increased fun and pleasure and there's like freedom for feedback because I feel like we're operating in trust. And so that's like that one idea. But then honesty is this idea of being fully authentic, transparent, and vulnerable for the good of the relationship. So this is really where you're cultivating that deep intimacy and oneness, where you're empowered to work as a team, to serve one another. Everything is in the light. The devil doesn't get a foothold. And so it's both of these things working in tandem to get to that like top right quadrant that we're working toward. But to
This is
start,
where you want to be.
this is where we want to be.
Top right quadrant.
right.
I figured that.
Yep.
So always the top right. But so if we start with high trust and low humility, is this idea of it's shallow, like your communication is shallow and you have weak roots. And so I would say even early in our relationship, this is what it looked like because there's high trust. Like we're connecting, it's fun, we enjoy being with one another. There's just that like basic level of trust, but the honesty is low. And often when honesty is low, it's a result of fear. And so everything is going so well and I love what we have, but I'm afraid if I confess these true things or share how I'm really feeling or what I'm really experiencing in this relationship, that this is all going to go away. And so I just hold it in.
Yeah, and early in our marriage, that was me. I very much would keep things in. And when things were going so well, I didn't want anything to break that up. And so if anything ever simmered to the surface that might break that or start to, crumble that tower, I just would withhold it. I just wouldn't say it. And Amanda, smart, she'd figure it out and she'd, put it in front of me. But early in our marriage, like I would just flat out withhold the truth because I didn't want what we had to suffer in any way.
Right.
And then obviously once it does come out, it can, but I had to learn like, no, I can trust you that even in your disappointment, in my shortcomings, in my weaknesses, you still chose me. She's
not going to run.
Me. She's not running
or bail.
And yes, she's disappointed in the moment, but the love behind that overshadows that every single time. But I had just never been in a situation where I could actually open up like that. That humility was there, that honesty was there, and I could trust that your response was going to be love and acceptance still.
And often that top left quadrant, you sense things are going well. So it's not the bottom two. I think you kind of know like, oh, our communication isn't so awesome.
There's distance.
Yeah. But the top one, it appears as though we are healthy and good and partnered.
Because it's fun.
Because it's
You're
fun.
going out. You're having
Yes.
date nights.
Yes.
But there's a shadow.
Yes, exactly. And so so if you move below that to low honesty and low trust, that's when your communication is cold. That's more of that business partnership idea. And that's rooted on our own selfishness. So this is, you see this, especially as people's kids get older, I think, and your marriage continues to develop into different seasons. Like, I'm going to do what's good for me. You do what's good for you. There's a ton of keeping score because it's all about like,
And we'll stay
making
together
this
as
work.
long as it both serves us.
Yes,
us
exactly.
well.
And so it is a partnership, but it's the wrong kind of partnership.
Yeah.
And that's where you're not talking about anything real or authentic, or you're really not communicating at all other than logistics and just whatever. And then moving over is high honesty, but low trust. And this is when your communication becomes harsh and the result is really that you're walking on eggshells. And so that idea of and it's rooted in my sense of control. And so I saw this in myself early in our marriage. Like, I'm going to be so honest with you about shortcomings because I'm afraid if I don't point those out, again, it's not God completing the good work through us. It's me completing the good work.
I will sanctify you, brother.
Yes, exactly. So let me do
and
it.
Therefore, am I saying anything that's wrong? No. Heck no.
But then there's no
cultivates-
trust. Yes. So there's no fun or safety to be able to share that in like a real vulnerable way. It's just out of a form of control. And you were mentoring someone.
Yeah, I mean, just recently talking with a guy in my life that we were just, hey, how's things going at home? How's your spouse? How's your wife? 1 to 10, how things going? He said a 2.
Ooh.
And I said, oh my goodness, like why a 2? And he shared similar things. There was just a control. He didn't feel like he could do anything right. He's always walking on eggshells, and the
never
fun
doing anything
was
right.
being zapped out of their marriage because they were living in this quadrant. Like this was a piece of.
It's a scary place to live.
Yes. And you can say like, yes, I'm being honest and that's good and we're communicating, but it's not.
It's hurtful
with the trust.
honesty
It's
too.
hurtful honesty.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's not cultivating that partnership. And so where we want to be is that top right, that's high trust and high honesty, and that's intimate communication. That's where we are inside of gospel partnership. And so that's when we're communicating about real things and deep things and hard things. And so that's taken time.
Struggle things
To cultivate in our marriage. But that's, if you're willing to put the work in there, the partnership becomes impenetrable. I mean, that's maybe too bold to say, but it,
God blesses it.
God
for
blesses
sure.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then we just looked at what does that, how do we get to that kind of communication?
How long have you guys worked with this matrix?
I don't know.
Over
So
time,
over
has it
time.
emerged?
Over time
it's
officially
emerged.
it's looked like this since we've done this.
We put it together.
You put it together for this talk.
Faith
Yeah.
in motherhood. But
It's
before
not
that-
someone's thing. It's you guys made this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Thanks.
It's like a great diagnostic tool. It's also a
Yep.
great target to aim toward.
Yes.
It's
and
a
we'd
great.
be willing to share it with anybody.
Maybe we
even
can post
what
it in the
looks
show
like.
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
It's
that's
been
really good.
Super helpful.
That's definitely a couple of chapters in the book. That marriage matrix.
A
I'm
good matrix
serious.
is
Yeah.
Solid.
my favorite. So
Yeah. It's the reason why you get into marriage is to have a good matrix.
yes,
So-
absolutely. We made a matrix. But so how do you develop that? That's what kind of where we wanted to leave people first, like evaluate, are you communicating spiritually? Are you communicating about God to one another? Like what questions and doubts and what you're wrestling with spiritually, but then also to God together. So are we praying together? Are
Yeah.
we praying about the same thing separately for one? And then also, are you actually spending time praying together? And if you want to develop intimacy in your communication, praying together.
It's hard not to be intimate with your spouse when you're praying with your spouse.
Yes. Yep.
Mark Patterson said that. He said there is just something intimate about praying
Yes.
with your spouse.
Yes, I remember when
It's
he said
just
that.
it's just true.
Yes.
Well, and it helps communication and intimacy. Like it's both and.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's this resource called the Marriage Journal that we've been using on Sunday nights before we get into the week, and it kind of just lays out opportunities to talk about what's practical in our lives, but also what's spiritual, what we need to focus on, and then what we can be praying for about the other person, for the other person. And then it's literally 20 minutes, and we go through it, and we're like, wow, that was 20 minutes. We just took 20 minutes
Of intentional focus.
of
though.
intentional time.
And alignment.
I'm closer to you. I'm closer to the Lord. And come on, when you're close to Jesus and your spouse, there isn't a lot that can get at you.
It's where you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where you want to be. Did you guys think marriage would be this much work?
I mean, I always say it's the hardest thing, but the best thing. So I think part of me knew, but just like anything.
Hard like digging a ditch or a start of a retaining wall,
Yep.
or hard like just challenging and not easy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think,
I know how to say that. Go ahead.
I mean, well, in different seasons, maybe both, but the idea that, and this is where the partnership idea helps, because the work is hard, but it's never done. Like I think what we thought even early when we had like really little kids, or even before we had kids, like things would get easier. And in some ways they have. We fight better, we communicate better, like all of those things, but life gets harder. And so you have to work harder to work through life. And it gets much more complicated. Like everything, even now compared to 5 years ago, life is so much more complicated. But that's where the burden is off of us to complete the good work. And it's trusting God that if we do the work, that He's bringing something from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really is. I mean, it's eyes on Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to be.
Together.
If you're looking at anything else, well, individually and together. Like you run individually and together. That's how it works. And in seasons where you're not running as well, they lift you up, they pick you up. But it's your dependency on Christ.
Yeah.
Carries this.
Yeah. Hey, I'll encourage you guys with this as we close. This has been a very fast 50-some minutes. I wish I would have been at Faith and Motherhood listening to this to hear even more context around this. But here's the one of the blessings I see for all of this is your kids are getting a glimpse of the gospel through your marriage, not through how great you preached last weekend, or how many people came to your campus, or what this work output. Like this really, I believe, is one of the best gifts we can give to our kids, just a front row seat to a marriage driven by the gospel, because that sets them up to draw from a well of gospel partnership when they go to select a spouse, or when they go to write their vows, or when they go to fight for the first time as a married couple, when they're shocked, they're fighting, like thinking, did I make a bad choice?
Yep.
Right? Sanctification changes the game when you see marriage. And as a work that got started and is not yet complete, but the trajectory, the telos of it, if you will, is a good work.
Yeah. And I think, gospel partnership in marriage is the foundation, but we see our entire family as in partnership for the gospel too, not in like the official ministry sense, but just like almost a mini church. Like we're in partnership together. So our kids, as they see that partnership, like they're in it and they're with us, and we're like cultivating these things in and with them too.
Yeah. You guys are great. I appreciate you guys. I love serving on team with you guys. This was an easy, I'm not going to look at the clock. I can't see it right now, but I think it was great. Like so much in there for marriages. It's noon here. The air conditioning just kicked on.
That scared me.
You're not the only one that
Scott jumped like
before.
20 feet.
Yeah.
Second time in the pocket. That scared me.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks everybody. Season 1 is a wrap for Project 167. We will be back in the near or future. I don't know how near it's going to be, but it'll be back. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be praying for your marriages, for your parenting, and of course for your life at work. Thanks everybody.